But if you don't know me, my name is Bart Treese. I'm the director of the Mobility Innovation Center at the University of Washington, formerly with the Washington State Department of Transportation, and I'm also a Husky grad, so I got that going for me, which is nice. So we've got a great panel here. I want to make a few introductions for the folks who you'll be hearing from more. Travis Phelps, he's the one right here. Great, Travis. He's a mobility division, manager of mobility division, mobility technology manager. Did I get that right?
You did.
Excellent. Thank you. Next to him, I have Bill Cornell. Bill is a senior principal with Paraveda Solutions. And then we have Wei Sun, who is the CEO of AI Waging. And then lastly, but not least, of course, is Sarah Studer. She is the director of platform for Techstars here in Seattle. So with that, I'm going to bring Travis up. And Travis, I'll let you get started.
Hello, everyone. I'm tripping hazard here. So we'll start out, excuse me, my voice is a little trash from all the smoke we have in the forest fires area. Let's start out with, we'll talk about innovating with the private sector. Let's talk about a project where we actually use some of that innovation. So the Virtual Coordination Center. I'm going to walk through just a quick run of what this project was, and the various partners that we had, and just kind of tee this up for some general discussion as we jump into the panel. So Virtual Coordination Center, this is a project that's been around for about 4 years. We just wrapped up design and development on it. Roughly $8.5 million. It was the recipient of the FHWA, Federal Highway Administration, ATCMTD grant. About that. Cut that all out. So it's federally funded, and a lot of in-kind participation from both many private sector agencies as well as public sector agencies. So really was bringing a lot of things together, hopefully to innovate and find ways that we could manage congestion caused by major incidents more effectively. It's really kind of leaning up and de-siloing things for a lot of folks here in the Puget Sound. And while it doesn't sound like an innovative business approach, how we pulled this off actually, it's going to yield a lot of benefits. Bill Cornell from Paraveda was one of my partners in crime on this project, so we got to experience all the fun as we worked our way through this project. But it's almost done. We hope to start operational testing of this project here in the next month or so, and we wrap up the grant period in 2023. Some basic core functions, and this is an agile development project, one of probably the largest agile development project the state has taken on, Washington State. So we started out with some very high-level core functionalities, and this is what we worked with folks like Bill and our other private sector partners to develop. The goal was situational awareness, and we knew we wanted to bring dispatch feeds together in one dashboard that all folks could see some basic understanding and awareness, but also filter those down so we only saw the transportation-related incidents only. And these are like the 911 feeds when they dispatch an ambulance or a fire truck, that sort of thing. You're able to see where they're going, what type of incident it is, some basic understanding there. Also trying to find a way to make sure folks understood the real-time status of the incidents as it progressed. So as folks got to the scene, how did the incident change? Just making sure folks always had news they could use in their face. Second portion was regional congestion management, planning, and collaboration. It's a broad statement, but it's really saying all the transportation agencies and emergency response agencies, we want to know what you're doing. So that way we understand how you're trying to manage the transportation system. We understand if your idea is going to, WashDOT's idea is going to really mess up some big plan for King County Metro. We want to know that. And since we're partners, we can always talk about that, but it's in our face as we're moving through this incident together. Last but not least, in this section, early warning of major incidents. So something has happened. We have a bunch of cameras, a lot of ways to verify that things are actually happening in our system. How do we get the jump a little sooner? With the traffic volumes we have in the Puget Sound area, we don't have a lot of time to act, so that was really helpful. Last but not least, our communications people, the ones who talk to the media and to the public, how do we get them to act in a synchronized way? Typically during emergencies, when you're all crammed into an emergency operations center, you're coming down to a specific cadence where you're going to do social media posts at quarter after the hour, press releases half an hour. All media briefings take place at a quarter to the hour. We need to do that when we can't get to the same room together. How do we effectively use the VCC to do that? Last but not least, approved talking points. It's great to have a briefing, but how do you get that in front of everyone? VCC helps us do that. So we start out with these core functionalities. We didn't define necessarily how we get it done. We did define an agile development cycle to walk through with each of our agencies to get there. Talk about partners. This one had quite a few public agencies. State DOT is one of them, Washington State Patrol, King County Metro, Sound Transit, SDOT, Seattle Fire, and Seattle Police, all major partners here. Port of Seattle, Northwest Seaport Alliance, monitoring this project, not necessarily big participants at this point in time, but definitely wanting to see where this goes. We partnered with the private sector through a group called Challenge Seattle, which is led by former Governor Christine Gregoire. She brought a lot of the firepower into the room from the private sector and basically said, and quote this from yesterday, private sector wants to help, you just need to ask. Well, we made the ask with this grant, and a lot of them did show up. Bill's Pyramid is one of them. We also had like Thought Exchange, some of the big heavy hitters in transportation as well, Siemens, WSP USA, Google, Uber, Amex, a lot of those big names. Emergency management, communication specialist ReadyOp also showed up. Local support from Schema as well as Thought Exchange. And of course the big tech giants, AWS and Microsoft. So together, we're able to kind of work through this scope through agile development, actually get something built within 2 years that we hope to start operationally testing soon some agreements get signed, but I'm targeting early to mid-November of this year, and we'll test for a year. So it should be pretty cool. Lots of lessons learned, both from the grant perspective, as well as how to involve some of these private and public sector agencies together to walk through those agile development cycles to get something actually done and get those use cases out on the street for use. That's my real quick pitch. Contact information's here, so with this, you want to just go ahead and pass it on to
pass the
Bill.
bill. Q&A after.
All right, so I'll pass it over to Mr. Bill Cornell.
All right, hello everybody. Bill Cornell, Parveda. When Bart asked me to talk about private partner partnerships, we were the private part in part of this program. And what I really thought about is how to do innovation across different boundaries, whether it's private and public, or whether it's academic and business. And so what I thought I'd do is I would just share some of the lessons that I've learned throughout parts of my career, and hopefully some of these things will be useful for you. All right. So as Travis just talked about with the VCC, I'm not a transportation expert, but I spent 3 years sort of immersed in congestion and incident management. We took this product from basically identifying a need of this community all the way through concept and prototype into launch. And the two lessons that I want to share here is, Agile is something Travis mentioned. This is like a big Agile software project. But when you're working with organizations that don't always work only in the digital space, a minimum viable bridge is probably something you might not want to drive over, but we use a minimum viable product pretty easily in the digital space. And so understanding kind of where your different stakeholders are coming from across those boundaries is important. Otherwise, you may be trying to implement a model that they're not really used to, and that change curve takes a lot of time. And then also when we worked with the various public agencies and the private sector, everyone's got different agendas. And the sooner that you recognize and embrace those different agendas, the sooner you can get through the crosstalk and the interference, and you can get to actually trying to work together. And so whether it was the city and the state, or different competitors on our team, or just the different interests between the academic and the private and the public sector, the sooner you kind of all come to the table and understand what it is you're each trying to get out of this, the faster progress will happen. If I move a little bit back in history here, I was at a startup. We were entering the US market. The boundary we were crossing there was moving from sort of this unknown startup into a very competitive space. The lessons there, and I think this applies for public and private, is nurture relationships. Make sure you get the right team involved. If you have folks that aren't sort of on the same page or that don't have those right skill sets, it's going to really slow progress down. And then don't be afraid to take advantage of a lucky break. If something seems too good to be true, like you can look at it twice, but if it's still there, go after it. And I think especially when we're trying to transfer technology into the market, a lot of luck is what makes success. So don't be afraid to count something. Been a product consultant for a long time. The boundary there is really moving between various scales of entities, whether it's global brands or whether it's startups or entrepreneurs with just an idea. A number of years ago, before it was CoMotion, it was the Center for Commercialization. We helped coach some of the entrepreneurs with ideas at that stage. And I think the lesson there, and this is important for any sort of real sort of cross-stakeholder partnership, is to identify what winning means and identify what winning means in a short time frame. A lot of times folks get sort of stuck on what's our mission, what's our vision, and those are all important. But knowing what is the win for the next 30 days, what is the win for the next 6 months, those are the things that are going to get everybody sort of aligned and marching in the same direction. And it's all about scaling smartly. We see this with a lot of startups, we see it with a lot of big organizations. Understanding kind of what folks are good at and how they can scale their effort and time and investment and the money that they have is important. When you form a partnership across different sectors, knowing what everybody's bringing to the table and not being afraid to give up something that you might be okay at, but somebody else is really good at. And so that's some of the lessons that I think help the partnership space. And then finally, in the first part of my career, I did engineering. I worked in satellite systems, I worked in aircraft transport, so somewhat transport related. And I worked between a number of commercial entities that I represented as well as national laboratories. I worked with the engineering team bringing stuff to market, as well as our corporate research centers. And so a lot of technology transfer topics, a lot of kind of equivalence to that public-private different interests. And the two lessons I learned there is really honing in on what is the right problem to solve. I don't know how many times we would work with the research teams and they would come back and say, oh gosh, like we studied this awesome phenomenon. And it was like, great, did you tackle that problem that we don't know how to solve? And it was like, no, but we're gonna get there. And so really getting clear on like, what is the right problem? And that takes some discipline and sort of really digging into it. And then understanding how good the solution needs to be at the time. If it's flight safety avionics like we were working at, has to be pretty darn good. If it's a software product where there's some workflow and if somebody makes a mistake, there's no big deal and you can fix it next week, you can go a lot faster because the solution doesn't need to be as robust. And then my final lesson is really that tech transfer and commercialization and working sort of as you move innovation across these boundaries is a two-way street. A lot of times in product we talk about, always put the customer first. What's the customer need? Don't let technology lead the way. And I think it needs to be both directions. I think you need to have what does the customer need, certainly as part of the conversation. But on the other hand, you also have what could we do with this? What if we could use this technology for something? And I think that two-way street allows you to come up with better ideas. This is just kind of a sample of some of the projects we work at, but really the only point I want to make out of this is all of these interesting projects came from somebody saying, what if we could? Or I wonder if this would be possible. And so when you run into a question like that, that's always a place where innovation and pulling together the right group of partners, whatever the boundaries, I think can be valuable. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Wei Xiang. I used to work as a postdoc research associate at a startup. Now, Dr. Wan, we founded this company called AR Vision. I think you guys recognize this particular device. near the reception area. I think many of you guys have waved at the device. So we have a live demo there, and it's been going on for over half a day right now. So I think you guys may know that if there's a tiny chance of anything going wrong, it must happen during the live demo. So I'm pretty sure, so pretty much everything went pretty smooth, and I'm super relieved because this is actually not the first time we did anything like this live demo. You won't, actually I won't be this relieved like a few years ago when we first had this prototype during the demo. So actually, as I was working for the developing this device, and until this day, we finally make this move to form our own company. It's been almost 3 to 4 years. So today I'm going to show you the journey, what it takes to move a particular research product to practice. Just a quick background. So AI Vision is our company. Our mission is to develop connected vehicle technologies for the agencies for safer and more efficient transportation. Pretty much the solution we provide would make agencies super easy to implement a connected vehicle application, either for safety or mobility purposes. We're currently located at the startup hall. So it's actually a nice facility, actually operated by Commotion. Bart, his dad's next to mine, so yeah. This is our current team. So we have researchers, Dr. Wang and I, we founded this company, and now we bring a lot of people from the industry, including Microsoft, AT&T, and also the transportation public agencies, as well as the dealership, into our team. So some of the products include the MUS device you can see at the reception area. It's actually a connected vehicle device that developed in our lab in the University of Washington. So this is a particular device that's been licensed, exclusive licensed from the UW to the AI Vision. It's a device that with multiple sensors integrated into the same platform. You can see clearly the camera. It also have the MAC address detection functions with Bluetooth Wi-Fi, so Bluetooth Wi-Fi signals, and also the environmental sensors like humidity and temperature information can be collected at the same time, as well as have the edge computing capability. All the data collected from this device will be analyzed in the device. So all those kind of raw data, like a video, will not need to be transferred to an agency or to a TMC. We only have to transfer the most critical message data. We also have the communication module integrated into the device. That's actually set us apart from a sensor. It's actually a sensing, analysis, and communication all in one unit. And we also have the software to manage the device and analyze the data. So I need to remind myself this is not a sales pitch. So this is the fun part. So we have some videos. Basically, I can show you here how the sound is working.
Oh, there we go.
Traffic collisions are one of the leading causes of death. Unfortunately, there's an estimate of 5 million crashes in the US every year. To improve traffic safety, the University of Washington Star Lab has developed a connected vehicle device, the Mobile Unit for Sensing Traffic, or MUST. MUST is a comprehensive sensor fusion and edge computing device that can be used for multimodal traffic sensing, roadway conditions monitoring, smart parking, and connected vehicle applications. Multiple sensors, including a video camera, Bluetooth Wi-Fi detector, and temperature and humidity sensors, are integrated together to address the diverse needs of smart transportation. taking advantage of edge AI technology, MUST can produce volume and speed data of road users, road surface conditions, and travel time estimates. In addition, MUST can be configured as a communication unit on the infrastructure side for connected vehicles and other smart transportation applications. MUST has been deployed in Seattle, Bellevue, and Linwood in Washington State, and the E8 corridor in Norway for applications including traffic and roadway conditions monitoring, hazard event detection and warning, vehicle localization to support autonomous driving, and curb space management. PacTrans and the University of Washington Promotion have funded product development and commercialization of MUST. MUST and its related IP have been exclusively licensed by AI Regime, which is a University of Washington spin-off company providing smart mobility solutions using AI and edge computing technologies for safer and more efficient transportation. If you're interested in knowing more, please feel free to contact us.
Yeah, so the production of this video is actually funded by PacTrans, one of the success stories. And our lab, our PhD student Sam, right there, is the one that recorded the video.
You go to the PowerPoint.
So here is the fun part. So this is the steps we take from an idea to actually signing the exclusive license from UW to a spin-off. I can show you we are very lucky. We have a lot of support from agencies like WashDOT, City of Bellevue, City of Linwood, and also PacTrans with a lot of success story and research project, as well as the commotion to actually help us through the last step of signing this contract, signing this agreement. These are the projects that we have went through over the last few years. I wouldn't bore you to the details of the project, but I can pick several projects out of the 4 phases roughly we went through for the development of the product. So the first phase would be like from idea to a prototype. We have 2 research projects around the 2016-2017. The main purpose of the project is to detect the pedestrians and also the ridership monitoring through natural detection. Actually, through the project, one of the success story project funded by PacTrans, we actually developed a prototype. Here is another.
On any given day, thousands of commuters get on buses to get to work, school, and daily appointments. It's a struggle for transportation services of all sizes to determine how to best meet the needs of their riders. Established in 2012, PacTrans is a center of transportation research, one with dual goals of safety and sustainability.
PacTrans is one of 10 regional transportation centers that is funded and supported by the U.S. Department of Transportation. We are a coalition of all of the universities in the Pacific Northwest. Our coalition of universities focuses on transportation safety, technology and policy, researching how we can improve safety for transportation users. So we work with industry, we work with cities, counties, the state to investigate what can be done to make transportation safer.
We also want to be a collaboration platform because a lot of transportation problems are really regional problems, not as specific to a city. So to address those kind of problems, we require collaboration.
This consortium of 5 Pacific Northwest universities has come up with a new, inexpensive way to capture rider data.
We installed sensors that could record these MAC addresses or unique electronic identifiers on board transit vehicles so that we could start to understand how people are using the transit system this moves forward and gets applied on a larger time and space scale, the need for individual privacy protection is going to get even more important, and that is a major thrust of our research. We have a method for converting the MAC addresses or unique identifiers into pseudo-anonymous codes that can't be linked to any particular person.
And then we were also to look at when they were traveling, and then we were also able to just look at the combinations of from origin to destination. And all of that together is useful information for transportation planners to improve our transportation system, to get a better sense of where deficiencies are, where new bike routes should be placed, where new bus routes should be provided. These travel patterns are extremely useful to improve our transportation system.
PacTrans research has already caught the attention of transit officials as far away as China and Brazil, a tool for all transit organizations.
Yeah, so actually, a lot of projects are funded by PacTrans. So PacTrans is an organization that actually contributed to a lot of tech transfer. I think we're funded by PacTrans for 2 research projects that are related to MUST, and also at least 3 success stories for producing different kind of videos for promotion purposes, or some of the actual implementation of the MUST devices in, for example, City of Bellevue for their curb space management project. This is actually to our first version of the MUST device. It only has one single function, it will be the MAC address detection. And then for the second phase, we have conducted several projects, mostly focusing on video sensing around the time of 2018 to 2019. And then for the project working with Norwegian Public Road Administration, they have a lot of requests for not just a single source of data, but also data about the environmental conditions, as well as using both the video and the Bluetooth Wi-Fi MAC address detection for some travel time estimation or traffic conditions detection. So around that time, we actually developed the next phase of the our MUST device.
Transit authorities everywhere struggle to monitor traffic on their roads and the impact on traffic safety. The collection of traffic data is expensive. The STAR Lab within the University of Washington's Department of Civil and Environmental Engineering is developing a more cost-effective multi-source traffic sensor.
The goal of MUST sensor is to monitoring the transportation system, and we can easily apply this mobile sensing device in any transportation system.
What we have here are basically the core components of the MUST sensor. Inside of this plastic case, we have a Raspberry Pi single-board computer with additional peripherals for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi sensing. This unit could be installed in a traffic signal cabinet or perhaps a metal box that could be mounted to a street lamp pole or traffic signal mast arm. By installing one unit in a traffic signal cabinet or other location, we can get the volume of devices on either Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. With 2 sensors installed separated by a known distance, we are able to get speed or travel time. And installing 3 or more sensors, we can start to see where people and vehicles are traveling and investigate things such as origin and destination studies.
Designed to work in both fixed and mobile environments, the MUST 2 provides real-time data for faster analysis.
Real-time information will be more important. For example, if you want to manage traffic, you want to know whether the roadway is traveling at a reliable mode. So having real-time information will be great.
The MUST 2 combines multiple devices in a single unit to monitor traffic volume, pedestrians, even weather conditions.
So we integrate several data sources like map readers, thermal camera, and video camera, and also environmental sensors sensing the humidity and temperature. So by integrating these multiple data sources, we can implement our sensors in more scenarios.
With data provided by the MUST 2, traffic agencies and transportation companies will be better equipped to develop solutions for traffic problems in a faster, more cost-effective manner.
Given this data, there's a variety of useful applications. By having better information on volumes, transportation authorities are able to better plan for new facilities.
So with all these things integrated and with such an affordable price, I would expect MUX2 sensor will be a very handy and helpful sensor for not only transportation agencies, but also private owner and also private industry to do their projects.
To transportate, this Department of Transportation.
So actually that actually leads to the version 2 of the MUX device. But as you can see, this is very different from the one that we showing today. So even though it might look cool, it actually doesn't really work in a real life application. So there are a lot of issues with this design, particularly for manufacture and also assembly. So actually when it comes to real world application, it's not just looking cool, but it needs to be functional. So, but this version have all those functions integrated, like camera, MAC address detection, environmental sensors. We actually work on several other projects that lead to the final version of the MUX device, which looks like this. What you guys seeing today is our final version of MUX device with all those sensing functions integrated. Especially we actually add the communication functions into this device, because lately we have been doing a lot of projects about connected vehicle applications. And one thing we figured out is actually, we talk about connected vehicle applications a lot, and a lot of agencies, it's really hard for them to really implement application without maybe install a lot of roadside or onboard units. Even though the communication methods, they are still under a lot of debate. So we think there should be an easy way for agencies to implement connected vehicle application, and we have this solution with sensing analysis and communication all in one device. So we have been funded by Norway and a few other agencies for several projects. I want to demonstrate this particular one. Recently funded by Washington State Transportation Innovation Council, the STIC project. It's a project about comprehensive traffic sensing, but more importantly, connected vehicle applications. So we are able to detect data like road surface conditions, whether the road surface are dry, wet, or ice-covered snow. We can detect that over 95% accuracy. And more like data like traffic conditions, travel time, and environmental conditions, this information can be collected and in real time sent to a road user like vehicle or pedestrians through a mobile app or other social media channels. I also want to emphasize with the UW Promotions support, we actually signed the agreement and we formed this company. In the same period, we actually received the gap fund from the promotion to prepare the business development, all those kinds of major steps from a research to a practice. So actually the company we just received US DOT SBIR award this year, and we're working on this project with Verizon and Silicon Valley. And we are increasing our presence at the intersection and roadways in a lot of cities in Washington and also Hawaii. And we are working with Microsoft and City of Redmond to sign another contract for intersection safety. We're also working with Yakima Nation to deploy a pilot project as well, for the islands rather. Okay, cool. That's all, thank you.
Program for basically entrepreneurial, anybody, an entrepreneur coming out of the university that can use that as a resource. Like, they can provide desk space, they can provide counsel, stuff like that, like, get a startup company off the ground.
Hey everybody, I fell off an electric scooter and broke my hip, so that is my little lesson for you all. I'm a cautionary tale. Please be careful. So my name is Sarah Studer. I am the Director of Platform for Techstars Seattle, as well as the Filecoin Techstars program, which is our blockchain-specific, industry-specific program. The Techstars Seattle itself is industry agnostic, and that will be the majority of what I focus on today, but happy to share a little bit more about what partnership programs look like at Techstars. Just a little bit about me. Sometimes I do these things and people are like, I know you from somewhere, so just wanted to let you know where those places might be. I got my start in philanthropy as a grants manager at a small organization called Social Justice Fund Northwest. Also participated as an emerging practitioner in philanthropy, serving on their board, and started the Young Professionals Board at the Women's Funding Alliance. Then I moved over into social entrepreneurship and got my first taste of the startup life. So I was by the time I left, was the managing director for Impact Hub Seattle, which was a co-working space down in Pioneer Square. We hosted a ton of events. I'm gonna guess maybe some of you were at some of them. And then also served on the board of Seattle City Club. And then I moved over to the University of Washington and became an assistant director for the Burke Center for Entrepreneurship, which while it is housed in the Foster School of Business, we recognize that innovation happens everywhere. It's not just the business students that come up with the great ideas. So we were a campus-wide resource for students that wanted to start something. And then I never, ever expected to move over into tech and venture capital. As you can kind of see, I'm like a social justice versus social impact kind of person. But ended up over in Techstars as the director of platform, running basically these 2 programs, which will actually grow into 3 programs in the next year. So that's just a little bit about me. For those, can I just get a quick show of hands? Has anyone heard of Techstars before? Techstars newbies, love it. You 3 don't count. We've been on calls. Okay, well, Techstars was actually founded back in 2006 in Boulder, Colorado, which conveniently happens to be where I grew up, so it's always kind of nice to be able to go back there and have a team there as well. But Techstars is the worldwide global network that helps entrepreneurs succeed. Here, by the numbers, we have run 357 accelerator programs around the world since 2006. We have over 3,000 companies in our overall portfolio. Our portfolio market is $75 billion, and 19 unicorns have come out of Techstars program. A unicorn is a company that's valued at over $1 billion. 86% of Techstars graduates are either still in business or have been acquired. So we dramatically increase an entrepreneur's chances of success through the programmatic resources that we build, as well as the mentorship network. And that stat is like, you know, they always say most startups fail. Most Techstars startups do not fail. There have been 6 IPOs from within our portfolio companies, Owlet, Latch, DigitalOcean, SendGrid, SafeFlow, I don't know that one. And then most recently, Remitly, which is actually a local company that participated in Techstars Seattle back in 2011. That is actually one of 3 of the unicorns within our portfolio of 132 companies alone. So by the numbers for Techstars Seattle, we have run 13 programs over the years since 2010. We have 132 companies in our overall portfolio. Those companies have raised more than $2.5 billion, and that does not count Remitly's IPO. And then we have 3 companies that are worth $1 billion. One is Remitly, which I mentioned. The second is Zipline, which is actually focused on drug delivery using drones. But now if you watch commercials and you see a Walmart commercial, you may see that Walmart is experimenting with drone delivery, and they have partnered with Zipline to do so. So their logos are all over their commercials. And the last is Outreach, which is a sales platform here in Seattle. But other notable companies are listed on this. There's actually another drone company called DroneSeed. They are working on reforesting areas that have been devastated by wildfires and reseeding those areas using drones, which is super cool, and there's been quite a bit of news about them lately. Other headlines that you may have seen, companies that have participated in our program over the last 6 months that have received funding. We have a company that is working on improving the rate of Black women who use their postpartum visits, their 6-week visit, and receive mental health care. We have one of the youngest Black women who ever raised over $1 million. In fact, there are less than 200 Black women who have received over $1 million in venture capital funding, and 3 of them have participated in Techstars Seattle. We have a computer vision startup, we have a mapping startup, we have a startup that actually just launched an app that helps mothers that are planning to give their children up for adoption to find adoptive parents. We also have a legal startup, and I had already mentioned drone seed. So what I'm trying to illustrate here is that there's a very wide variety of the type of companies that get accepted into a Techstars program. Now, if I were talking about our blockchain program, they would all be very industry specific, and I actually think there's plenty of opportunity for partners to come together and develop alongside Techstars industry specific accelerator programs, which can dramatically, I would say, increase the rate in which a company becomes successful and is ready to launch. We obviously believe that entrepreneurs can change the world. It's absolutely true. So we do that with startups, we do partner with corporations, and then of course we rely on the local communities to really help our startups move and grow. This is a little bit more about kind of what goes into a Techstars program. We select 12 companies for every single cohort that we run. The cohorts themselves go through an intensive 13-week boot camp, and this particular slide says that 2 years of work can fit into about 13 weeks. When I was at the Berg Center for Entrepreneurship, I ran an accelerator program that went for 6 months, and I will definitely say that what happened in 6 months of that accelerator program happens in about 4 days in Techstars. So it really, really is, move as fast as humanly possible to test your hypotheses, find your customers, and then go to market, as well as, raising funds along the way. What we're looking for when we invest in startups, and I'll talk a little bit about what our investment deal is, but we're looking for awesome teams. And we say we look for 6 things. The first 3 things are the team. Is this the team that's actually going to be able to solve this problem and build this company? The fourth thing that we look at after really looking at the team is what is the market opportunity for whatever the problem is that they're trying to solve? How much progress have they made? That's really, towards the end of this list of 6 things that we're looking for, because you can have a group that has, 100 people on their wait list, but nothing that anybody truly, truly wants. And so we're looking for a little bit of traction, but that can be a bright, shiny object that can be distracting. And then we're looking at the idea itself. Like, what is this? Is there a there? Is this team building something to be an aspirin? So are they solving a pain, or are they building something that's a vitamin? You kind of maybe need it, but nobody's really quite sure if anybody wants it. The things that we're looking for is we're looking for brilliant founders. We're looking for resiliency, we're looking for their commitment, and we're looking for a founder market fit. So how do these companies really truly understand the problem? Is this a pain that they themselves have felt? Or is it something that they just were like, hey, that looks like an interesting opportunity, I'm gonna go try and build for that. And then of course, can they build it? This is a tech accelerator. So we're often looking for a great builder and seller combination. That makes for generally really awesome team dynamics, and we want them to be ambitious, to have a vision, a desire to learn and to be coachable. And then as a Techstars motto, we're looking for people who are willing to give first. So to give without any expectation of anything in return. A typical week in a Techstars program includes office hours with our mentors and other experts. We do one-on-ones with our managing directors, who are the direct investors in each company. We do measure everything through KPIs throughout the 13 weeks, so we have the companies actually share with one another their progress on various things that they're tracking. We introduce them to successful founders who have founded and succeeded and sold their companies for generally quite a bit of money. We prepare them to pitch in front of large communities of investors and other interested potential customers. We put them to work. They get quite a bit done in those 13 weeks. And then we do quite a bit of content development through presentations and workshops. Probably the most important thing, and I think this is actually where we share quite a bit of alignment with CoMotion, which is where we are housed, which I'll get to in a little bit. But we really believe, and we now know after 3,000 companies have done this, that mentorship can make almost all of the difference to a startup company. So our goal is to surround them with mentors to really help them on their startup journey. We do something that's called Mentor Madness, where over the course of 2 weeks, they meet with between 60 and 80 people over 30-minute meetings each to really pitch their idea and to get feedback from people who have been in their shoes and who have done it before. And so mentorship honestly is kind of the most important thing that happens through this process. And of course, with the Give First attitude, our mentor pool of thousands of people is doing this without any expectation of anything in return. Our deal is not the best deal. I'm just going to be upfront to say this. You don't do a TechStars program because of the money. There are other accelerators that will give you more money. It might take a bit more equity in your company. But we offer $20,000 for 6% of each company with an optional $100,000 convertible note. I can't really tell you the details about that because I don't quite understand it myself. I'm more on the operations side of things. But you don't do a TechStars program because we're giving you money. You do it because we're going to 10x your network over the course of 13 weeks and because we are dramatically going to change your odds of success. Overall, right now, there are 54 programs running at any given time throughout the TechStars universe, which really is global. We have over 22,000 investors in our network, so all of the companies that go through a TechStars program gain exposure to some subset of those investors. 7,500 mentors in the network, and a variety of community programs. So TechStars is here for those early stage companies that are ready to fly, but we also have a pre-accelerator program for those that are ready to get ready for a TechStars program. And then we have hundreds of corporate innovation partners. So I've mentioned a couple times, this blockchain program that we run is actually a partnership with someone called Protocol Labs, which is a blockchain company. They have invested and partnered with us for a 3-year contract to run 3 programs and to bring 36 companies into the light, into the Web3 space. And so we also have one on physical health, a partner actually with, I believe, is with the university down in Dallas, Fort Worth. We have a sustainability accelerator program that's running out of Paris. We have a couple other Web3 ones. We have workforce development, future of work, fintech partners. So there's a lot of opportunities to pick industry-specific verticals and invest in brand new companies that oftentimes are solving many of the problems that our partner companies are experiencing themselves. TechStars is the anchor tenant of Startup Hall at the University of Washington, so that's the CoMotion Labs space. This is my team getting pumped up for another cycle of a TechStars program, but it's really very well aligned because both CoMotion Labs and TechStars really understand the power of mentorship. So while we do offer desk space for our startups to work from, the startups from TechStars also gain exposure to everybody through the CoMotion Labs network as well. And they also get to sit along other startups that are going through many of the same things. So while we're on the opposite side of the room for you, we understand and can kind of share resources in that way. Plus, it also gives us some deal flow. So oftentimes we have startups that are in Startup Hall then apply for TechStars. Unfortunately, for this particular round, we did not select any of the companies at Startup Hall to join us. We're not that popular at the moment. There's a bit of disappointment, but it is a great opportunity for exposure for those startups too to get into the TechStars flow. The number one thing that most TechStars companies have in common is that they've applied for TechStars more than once. So we always encourage entrepreneurs to be persistent because we want to learn more about you over time. We're trying to establish lines, not dots, in our engagement with our startup companies. And if you can show us that you're going to stick to this and keep it going, then we're going to want to see you again next year. We also have a great partnership with the University of Washington in terms of the Foster School of Business. We have a partnership with the MBA Venture Fellow Program. So each year, 2 MBA students embed themselves with the TechStars team to help us source new companies and new ideas, and then also get to work directly hands-on with the companies on their financial models, on their customer discovery, on helping them to build out their investor list. So they get some really great hands-on experience. And then we've also partnered with the undergraduate programs, the Lab and Entrepreneurship Program for an internship, in which if there is a company that would like an intern for the duration of the program, we have a direct pipeline for students to engage with the companies. We pay the startup pays half of the salary of the student for 3 months, and then the school covers the rest of it, which is really awesome. And then we're also active judges at the annual business plan competition. It's very convenient because I happened to run that competition when I was at UW, so that's been a very easy ask. But we also use that as a way to source kind of the newest and most innovative ideas that are coming out of the University of Washington. And actually throughout the entire region because that is a regional competition. That's basically all from me. That was a very, very quick snapshot of what Techstars can offer and what Techstars does. There are Techstars programs literally almost everywhere, and we currently are supporting about 1,000 startup companies per year, but our goal and our North Star as a company is to become the largest tech investor across the world, with the goal of supporting up to 5,000 companies a year. So we are growing and scaling immensely. We are on the lookout for the most innovative and most exciting companies that, again, want to dramatically increase their odds of success. So my contact information is right up here, but thanks so much.
You did a good job, thank you. I wanted to try to bring this panel together for a number of reasons here at PacTrans to tie it together here. I mean, innovation happens in different parts of the university. So, Travis has had a lot of experience working at WashDOT and working with folks from the University of Washington. Bill comes from the private sector, has worked with this, CoMotion in the previous iteration of CoMotion, but also as part of the Virtual Coordination Center project. Wei-Sun came from the university as a researcher, now he has his own company. And then Sarah, you just touched on a lot of things as far as companies that are trying to grow and spin off. So I'm hopeful this shows a wide spectrum of how the private sector and the university are connected. But before I start asking the questions, anyone have any questions that they want to start with before we have a conversation? Okay, so with that, I'll just start asking questions. If something comes to mind, raise your hand. We'll get you involved in the conversation, so I don't think you just have to hang on the sidelines. You can be an active participant in this. So with this, I'm going to start with Travis here. Could what you have done with the VCC been done without the private sector?
Speaking from a state government perspective, likely not. They pushed us into adopting Agile as a way to do business. Typically, if you look at the way government contracts are put together, it's your typical systems V diagram. You've got to have everything right at the beginning. You're building it this way. We took a more, lack of better terminology, design-build approach with it and built it with our community partners. It's really tough to get everyone under one roof unless you have a flexible structure. Private sector allowed us to do that. The other thing I think is showing up with different ideas to push our understanding of what could be accomplished. That's something, from a government perspective, we're trying to come up with a system that is going to survive. It's going to develop, it's going to show benefit from day one, but also be able to be funded by the state legislature or other governing bodies moving on. Private industry is seeing it from a slightly different, more product perspective. Those two things meshed together, I think, really helped us be successful and increase a lot of dialogue between us and our partners, both public and private.
All right, thank you. I'm going to roll down this aisle here and ask a few questions here. So Bill, you don't work for a state agency, but you kind of did in working with the VCC project. From your perspective, you kind of tied things together, the university and the public agencies and the private sector. How did you do that and keep your sense of humor and keep things moving along? Because you've got, and tell me the different dynamics between those players if you would mind elaborating.
Yeah, one of the things I like to talk about when solving problems is people, process, technology in that order. And I think even though our position was really to understand what needed to be built and then to go architect and build it, we never underestimated the people and relationship and political, literally in some of these cases, aspects of bringing the community together. At the launch ceremony we had for the VCC yesterday, Mark Hasselkorn mentioned the community-centered design. And I think bringing everybody in and getting them aligned on what the right problem was, what the problem they all shared, and that they even wanted a solution together was probably 60% of it. And then the remaining 40% was, okay, what are we going to go build and how are we going to get there? So I think getting everyone in the room and aligned on what they want to solve is probably the most important thing we did.
Thank you for that. And Wei, I'm going to ask you a couple questions here. So you started your career as an academic researcher, correct? And so why go be a CEO? I mean, tell me the difference between working in a university and being your own boss now.
Yeah, actually, I'm only a boss to a few people. So, yeah, so I work at a startup as also a research associate. I think one thing for our lab is we have, of course, with support from PacTrans, we have the access to a lot of agencies or company businesses in the transportation field. So as the more project we have been working on, we have more opportunities to test out our devices or technologies in real world. So we actually discovered a lot of issues that we can actually fix, not just using some of the projects. So there's a certain duration of the project. Once the project ends, typically you will not have access to that. What happened after that? So we want to actually complete the cycle for technology transfer. You actually need to have someone to get out of academia to actually going into the industry and continue the work. So that's pretty much why I want to do this. And particularly we have this wonderful technology that we want actually commercialize.
But the university is such a safe environment. You can just
Yeah,
keep doing your research and life's good.
Yeah.
Going
to say I just go right into it. So actually with support from CoMotion, I actually made my mind because it's easier than I thought. Yeah, than a lot of people thought. Yeah, not that hard.
Which is a great segue to Sarah. Go ahead. That's the next. So you probably deal with a lot of folks who have this great idea. They've got the makings of a good, maybe they come from the university. What are the things, you mentioned the 6 things you're looking for, the first 3 are team. But what separates the ones who come from academia and you kind of know they're going to be successful to the ones that like may want to rethink this? And how does that conversation go? And what are the things that you've learned in your career?
Yeah, I mean, one of the first things that we run into with projects that are coming out of the university environment is that somebody is already an investor. Some of your IP belongs somewhere. So there's a bit of a hurdle sometimes around that in terms of, does this deal even make sense for you to be part of, given that, you already are having licensing through the university. So that's one of the things that we always just kind of have to wrap our minds around. And I saw a lot of that when I was at the University of Washington in the Berg Center for Entrepreneurship, which was, let's be partners with CoMotion and be partners in order to better understand how we can help them spin this out. At Techstars, we really, we see it all. We see companies that are already earning $1 million a year that are still missing something. It's already a successful business, it's already growing, but they really need that mentorship and they know that they can't do it alone. And so for them, it comes to a point where it's like, okay, we're in a safe environment, but the people that we are surrounded with have helped us kind of as much as they can, and now we need exposure to the next level of entrepreneurship. We need to move a little bit faster than we have been. And so I think for us, it becomes an issue of, are you ready to take the next step, and are you ready to literally, it's an accelerator program, are you literally ready to accelerate? And are you really ready to build, what we hope will become the next $1 billion company? So we have a lot of conversations about that around, is this the team? And if it's a team of researchers, it's not always the case that there is somebody that's ready to step up and be a CEO. That doesn't always happen. It's a whole other, you're only the CEO for a few people, but we hope that it will be quite a few more at some point. And there also comes a point where people say, hey, I'm not ready to be the CEO, but I'm still involved and I'm still invested in this project. How can you help me find somebody that's willing to be a CEO? Which is absolutely what CoMotion, I think, can be super helpful with, and tech transfer offices can be very helpful with, is to help you bring in that outside entrepreneur that has that experience that you need to lead a company. It's not the same as research. It needs to happen a lot faster. And so how do we get you through what, I think sometimes they call the valley of death? How do we get you from being a project into being a startup company? And sometimes it's a matter of, are you willing to change up the team and change up your roles and mindset and actually literally hit accelerate.
Thank you for that. So I see a question in the back.
Yeah, I had a question for Sarah. I've heard the term blockchain be tossed around quite a bit now and before. I'm a little unsure what that sort of means in this context.
Me too.
Oh, really?
Yes, I do run a blockchain accelerator, and I think that the definition of it changes every single day. So I'm happy to talk to you more a little bit afterwards, but basically the whole concept is we are living in a Web 2 world, and the next version of the internet is Web 3, where information is more public and accessible while anonymous. So I like to think of a blockchain as a bunch of Excel spreadsheets in the cloud. That's my easiest way to describe it. But some of our companies are solving very real issues with the Web3 lens. As just an example, how many of you have ever had to do an employment verification or had to have your employment verified by a new employer? That is a phone call, and hopefully you'll get a call back in a timely amount of time. What if all that information was publicly accessible and available so you could skip that? Let's accelerate that process and get rid of the middleman, which is me as your former employer calling you back. So we have companies that are working on things like that in blockchain and in the Web3 space. And I'll just say blockchain, crypto, and Web3 are often all used a little bit interchangeably, although crypto is generally a currency.
Cool. Okay.
All right, any other questions?
Not about blockchain.
Okay,
That's the extent of my
that's the one blockchain question we have for the audience.
Shouldn't have mentioned it, but I'm wearing the jacket.
So I'm wondering, this seems to be talking a lot about product-oriented companies. And it seems to me there may be there's a gap or at least a significant need for the same kind of support, the same kind of service, the same kind of guidance to companies that aren't so much product-oriented as maybe service-oriented, such as professional services, engineering, which is what this thing is about, law, those kinds of areas, right? Those are also companies, at least initially, as startups that aren't probably aspiring to be $1 billion companies. Is there any place for them in any of the work that you're doing, or do they need to go somewhere else?
That's, I think, a great question. We are absolutely not the only accelerator game in town or globally, and so there are quite a few industry-specific accelerator programs that we would likely encourage people to use if they were not ready to be or interested or even eligible to become a venture scale business. For us, we're defining a venture scale business as something that will give the investors, a 10x return on their original investment. And so, $1 billion is nice. That's but there's only 19 of them in our network. It doesn't happen all the time. But, is it something that is going to be able to generate returns? A great example of a service-oriented business that we were considering was really going to need to make the transition from being, service and people-oriented to building a piece of technology that will allow them to move faster and to help more people. And for them, they actually declined our offer because they were like, we're not ready. We are still holding the hands of the people that we're working with, and we're not ready to let that go. We need to make that stronger before we can think about how tech can truly transform this industry. It was actually in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So they're not quite ready yet to think through how the tech can help them scale. But I would say an accelerator model for any industry that's ready to move a little bit faster than many of the industries that we all have worked in, is a great opportunity to actually get some rapid innovation in prototyping and actually start to solve some problems a little bit faster than maybe they traditionally have been. I mean, we all have pain points, but we are looking for people, and I said this earlier, but we're looking for people that are ready to solve problems by being an aspirin, not a vitamin. If you have a broken hip, you need some painkillers occasionally. Otherwise, it's very hard to live. But I'm not taking, my vitamin C and my vitamin D pills to help my hip. I need something stronger, and so we're looking for those things, those people that are ready to do something stronger. I'll give you a little sneak peek of a company that's entering our next cohort. How many of you have had your car towed? Ever? Yeah? Okay, cool. What was it like getting it back? Difficult, exactly. So we have a company that's ready to kind of compete with AAA and try to turn the towing industry, which is a very tight-knit community, but also kind of like, where is my car? How do I find it? What does this number go to? What time are you even open? So they're actually going to be working to transform that space, which I think is like a neat example of wow, many of us have had that happen. It hurts us, and so what can we do to make it a little bit easier?
I do want to build off one part of your question there about if say I have an A&E firm, like an engineering firm, how do I get an innovation trainer with academia or with public agencies? And I had a conversation with another person at a firm here in town. She's like, how do we work together? Let's find a project together, right? There's projects out there. Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act have notice of funding opportunities, and sometimes they require an industry partner. And so it's getting connected with some of those folks who get the right mix of research, technical skills, industry professionals to come together on those things. The VCC project, WSP USA is on that. You might elaborate a little bit more about WSP's involvement and how an A&E firm worked in an innovative project?
Yeah, so WSP USA, they were kind of our lifeline when we got stuck on certain things, like, I'll put the VCC just for more context. We were public-private partnership, we're also a partnership with academia. And so our skill set that we had was heavily project focused, and we needed to pull that out and have a lot of time and attention paid towards our concept of operations development and strategy, because we're really talking about aligning 6 or 7 different public agencies around a system to do business a certain way when we all have our different skills and expertise. So how that document is written, the strategy behind that is where WSP really helped us find a pathway to success.
That helps. Another thought that we had is, and I've got Paula Hammond on my advisory board, and she said when I took this job back in January, consultant firms want to be helpful, want to be partners in innovation, but our talent, our values, and our people. And so knowing when to reach out and say, we could use your help on this project. We're not asking for money, because a lot of times in academia, you're looking for money to support the folks who are doing the work, but that's not where you go. You go just to tap into that talent. And in return, A&E firms get access to the research, they're involved in these projects, so there's that mutual win and mutual benefit. So the next question to the folks is, how do you find that mutual win for people to get involved? How do you find that moment to say, you know what, Travis, I want to work with you, Sarah, I want to work with you, Wei, Bill, how do we all work together? Where do you find those moments, and how do you get people to say, aha, that's the moment? Yeah, like 30, 60 seconds each.
60 seconds. A lot of relationship building and coming up with some core concepts and understanding what your partners can contribute and what they can't contribute, and just being really honest with one another. I think the more you leave up to, hey, we'll find this out as we go along, that model clearly doesn't work. I think that's kind of a no-brainer, but getting super crisp right out the gate with your partners on any level is key to success.
Yeah, I think sort of to your question, being part of professional services firm, opening your mind to what if. I think every organization, no matter what type, can say, what if I thought about this as a product? What if I thought about this as a service? What if I thought about this as something I want to accelerate? What if I thought about this as something that I want to keep as a family, small and not accelerate? And so I think being open to thinking through all of the what ifs, and then being able to look at that picture and say, okay, here's what's really attractive, is one way to go about that.
I think to us, like either from a researcher or from right now my position, is we're trying to develop a product that people actually need, and we want to know exactly what the agencies or company need, and we also want to solve this issue like traffic safety. That's apparently an issue for a long time. So collaboration or partnership is just for this goal to improve traffic safety.
I mean, for me, I have a rule that I will take any meeting. I'll meet with anybody that wants to meet with me just to learn more about what you're doing, and then to share, of course, a little bit about what the Techstars ecosystem is doing, but also the Seattle startup ecosystem at large. And so for me, I'm just really also looking for people who are curious and who are ready to kind of imagine possibility and kind of want to get their hands dirty. Our Give First model just basically means, again, that we're looking for people that want to give literally first with nothing in return, but I think you get so much value out of a great mentorship experience on either side, and so that's what we're really trying to cultivate within our mentor community. And then in addition, I have access to literally thousands of companies a year that are doing innovative things. So I'm always looking to be able to share those connections and resources with other people.
Thank you. I realize we're at time, and I really appreciate folks attending and questions. These folks are pretty easy to get a hold of. I was able to wrangle them to this panel session, so I'm sure you can have a conversation with them, take a meeting if you'd like, but I want you to please give them a round of applause for being here. Thank you.